On this episode of the G3 Boardroom, we are going to be reviewing The Gang, which is a Texas Hold'em based tabletop game, not quite a board game, it's kind of a card game. For those of you who are big Texas Hold'em fans way back in the day, this is a really fun and interesting take on that game. You're using like all the same poker skills that you've honed over the years, but you're using it in a cooperative endeavor.
Yeah.
You know, you're still trying to figure out what everyone else has, but you know, you're trying to do it so you can win cooperatively. You have to each round you're going to rank your hands. You know, you're going to look at your whole cards, and if you've got a pair of aces, you're going to be like, I'm taking the number 3 chip because that's the highest chip. I have the highest card. If you look down at a 2-7, you know, you're going to grab that the 1 chip, and you know, then the guy who's in the middle is going to be like, oh, I don't know, I guess I'll take that middle one. Whatever, I'm stuck in the middle.
It's a little more complicated with more players.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those games where you're not supposed to talk about the game, similar to the mind. And so if you play with the same people, eventually you do start to understand how they do things, how fast they move, and what their tells are, since we're speaking poker.
I was going to say, when we're playing this, we want to telegraph our tells, not hide numbers or mask them to some degree.
I mean, it says right in the rules, you know, you do not want to bluff in this game.
Yeah.
And, you know, they you know, you can't say what you have, but if you got a pair of aces, you are going to jump on that 3 chip.
Yeah.
You know, or the highest chip so fast, and everyone else, they're gonna know.
Yeah,
you got
gonna break your buddy's fingers. Right?
Or you know, if the turn comes and it's like the 3rd heart, and then all of a sudden someone jumps for that, that highest, they hit their flush. So
right.
I always like the
Well, it's nice because you can switch chips.
You're not quite sure where you are, or if you're in the middle. If you're playing like 5 people, the highest hand and the lowest hand is pretty much you're going to see the people jump for those, and it's going to be more difficult to figure out those middle 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, we played this a bunch with 4 people. And it ratchets up the difficulty level significantly. And the 3 of us playing it we had no problem at all.
Yeah. It gets exponentially more difficult the more people you add to it.
I don't know what's the maximum?
6.
6.
Yeah.
I can't imagine playing this game with 6. This people. But you do have these extra cards here that every time you get a victory, you have a condition for the next hand that makes it harder. But every time you lose one, you get a condition that makes it easier. So, you know, that's a kind of a nice mitigator of that.
Yeah.
To balance it out. Especially if you are playing with folks that you're not normally playing games with. Us 3, we've been playing games for years, so we kind of know how each other thinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, we've played a lot of poker together too. So
yeah. I think this game, you know, follow me around the board on this one, but I think this game is an excellent teacher of poker because nobody can fold. You're trying to determine what people have, and it's easier to learn the hierarchy of hands when nobody can get out. Yeah. Nobody can fold. And so there are cards in the box for beginners for the hierarchy of hands, tells you what beats what. But since nobody can fold, you actually start to learn, hey, you know what? High card hits a lot when people don't fold.
Yeah.
High card gets played out, think about that.
Yeah.
And how there are many times when I've been playing this game that people are like, well, I'm playing the board.
Yeah.
You know, and that happened on our last hand. You guys were both playing the board. I hit a good hand, you got a bunch of clowns, you don't know what you're doing. But a lot of times you end up, you would have folded this.
Yeah.
You might have played it because it's suited, but you probably would have folded it. What did you have?
After the flop, I definitely would have folded it.
4 or 5 offsuit.
You might have played it because it was a connector, but you probably folded that in a normal poker game.
Yeah.
And so,
and there's no betting in this, so no one's getting pushed out. Or...
If the flop is cheap, you would say, okay, let's see if I can make the run. But otherwise, fold.
And that's the thing about this game. And so I think it does a good job actually teaching some beginner poker skills.
Yeah.
So,
one thing else about this game, and I'm not sure if this is something I just thought of. If you're playing this form of poker, is that the same as? It's not. I would say it's not the same as gambling.
Definitely not.
But you're still playing cards. You're still getting the enjoyment of playing Texas Hold'em. But if you happen to be a person that for whatever reason you just don't like gambling, you don't want to teach your kids how to gamble or something, I think this would be great. And the only reason I thought about that is I remember once when I was very, very young, I was like I was under preteen, and I was just, hanging out with a friend of mine, and
1930s.
I learned how to play like blackjack or something, and we're playing blackjack, and my friend's parents were sitting there, and I showed him how to play blackjack. We played blackjack for like an hour and a half, and then when we were done, his mom came over and said to her son, "Do you see now why it's a sin?" And I was like, wow, I felt horrible. And it's like, you couldn't have said something an hour and a half ago. You could, when I first broke out the cards, you could have said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that." So I'm in tune to people who may not enjoy gambling, and this is not that, and it's very, very fun.
Hey, let me ask you this question: outside of playing the gang, have you ever played Texas Hold'em for no money?
Yes.
Without gambling?
Actually,
excruciating.
Yeah. We played for pretzels, and we taught our son when he was like 7 to play it.
I mean, for me, when I play Texas Hold'em, I'll just play for chips. Because it's like there's no money involved when you play Carcassonne. There's no money involved when you play Catan or every other board game. So for me, it's whoever gets all the chips is the winner, and that's kind of it for me. I'm not making my living off of poker. I'm not buying my car based on poker or gambling winnings. So for me, it's not essential.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I haven't played for at least quarters or nickels and dimes for
me.
Poker.
Texas Hold'em, it has to be played for money. With this being the exception, I can't play for chips. I can't play for pretzels. I can't play for sticks. Whatever. It's excruciating when you're not playing for money because you can't practice it and play for nothing. Because people will not fold. You can't push people out.
True.
So, but that's a different game.
Yeah,
we're talking
about this.
There's no risk. That's why.
Right. Yeah. So we're talking about the gang now. A quick word on quality here. My only complaint about this game really is the deck of cards they give you. I don't think these cards are very good quality. They bend easy. They're getting messed up, and I would just straight up replace them with just even a stock bicycle deck. You'd be just fine.
I bet everyone at home has decks of cards in their house, or you could go out and they're not too expensive. You get a nice, plastic deck. Yeah. It's fine, easily done.
But this game does retail, I think, for just under $20, and so if you destroy your deck, you can replace that. Other than that, the chips are a little on the light side, but come on, we're not playing real poker here. They're good enough. You're not going to damage them. And the only problem would be losing them in that case, in which case that's on you. There's enough variety here with the different things that go on, the different cards that can come out and impact the play. And again, just to restate it, when you win one, you draw a card from here and make it a little bit more difficult on yourself. When you lose one, you grab a card from the stack and you make it a little easier on yourself. Now, we've played it with those cards, without those cards. It's a lot of fun either way. It's, again, and I always say this, and I do, when you play with the right people, pretty much any game is fun. But we played this with larger groups, played it with 3. The minimum is 3. Obviously, if there were just 2 people, it would be way too easy. But it's always fun. It's a laugh riot. And the stare downs, just like in the mind, with the stare downs are hilarious. The breathing and it sounds like some kind of petty farm.
I mean, it says that the minimum is 3 players, but you could almost play this heads up. I mean, heads up poker.
Heads up. No
heads
way.
up poker is a different, a little bit different style of poker when it gets down to 2 people. I think that it would be it would be possible.
No, I don't often tell you're wrong on the videos, but you're wrong. You can't play 2 players.
I would not like it as a 2-player.
Okay.
No, you're no. Now the interesting thing.
Everyone down in the comments, tell me how wrong I am and how right these guys are.
Please appreciate it. Now my other story about this game is we were at Gen Con in August of 2024, depending on when you watch this. And this game had not yet released, but they had copies of it, and I think they had like 100 a day. And this is one of those games that people were like stomping on folks to get into the door early to go and grab.
Yeah.
I was on my way over to get it, and the line was already more than however many copies they
that's
had.
right. Okay, yeah.
And our buddies at Diced also couldn't get their hands on it, so such is life. But it's a good game. It's worth your time. It's worth picking up. I enjoy it, and I think there's fun here to be had for the seasoned poker player, and there's fun here to be had for someone who's never played poker before.
Yeah.
And I do really feel it teaches you some basics.
Yeah, and it's definitely a family-friendly game.
Yeah, you have to be the better you are at poker, the better you are going to be at this, though, because if you have no idea about probabilities, if you look at your hand and you have an ace in your hand, you might think you're unstoppable, but if you're not seeing the straights and the flushes on the board, and you're not seeing other pairs popping up on the board, the better you are at poker, the more fun you're going to have with this game.
Something I mentioned way back when we first started playing the mind. It's almost like an exercise in working on your impulsiveness.
Yeah.
So if you have kids in your family that are pretty impulsive and you want to teach them a little bit of patience and how to work with things, it's another game that you can use like the mind. Absolutely. I mean, we had the mind with our son, and he's a little neurodivergent and he's got very impulsive, but after a couple hands, he kind of grasped it, and he was able to play it, and we would successfully beat it. So I think this is something that can also fall in that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And we played the mind three-handed, and we're always nice and smooth, but then we'll introduce a fourth person who's just like a maniac, and they're like, oh my goodness. But to speak to your point about probabilities and things like that, it's important. I need to point this out. It doesn't help, but it does. Is there's actually a card for the hierarchy of hands in here. So for people who haven't played, at least they know what beats what. Because for those of you who've played a lot of poker, especially those of you who play a lot of poker with people who have never played poker, there's always one question that comes up.
What is the maximum I could bet?
Not necessarily, but people will say, what's better, a straight or a flush?
Yeah.
That question always comes up from a beginner player. Well, it's on the card. Yeah. So you don't need to worry about that. But that comes up every poker game when we have somebody who doesn't play. Every time.
And this game's a lot of fun. I love games like this. It's so simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if the game of Texas Hold'em didn't exist, then maybe this would be much more complex. But I think that poker is pretty universal. A lot of people have played it, and this little twist on that is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. Yeah.
It's a good one. I enjoy this quite a bit.
This is from Cosmos Games. Cosmos
makes great stuff.
Yeah, they make some great games, and a lot of their stuff is, kind of a less is more.
Yeah.
With them, which is I love that.
Yeah, small box, not very many pieces.
Oh yeah,
it's really good.
Good stuff. Well, that's the gang.
So that's the gang. If you have ever played this game, if you're a Texas Hold'em fan and you are excited about this game, never heard of it before, let us know down in the comments. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that subscribe, and we will make as many more of these videos as you can possibly watch. Because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
We'll see you next time.